welcome to Book Hunt. If you're new here, my name is Nell, and I'm a hedonist who reads for pleasure and to see the world in new ways from new and interesting perspectives. This one is a proper fantasy. So we're talking about A Master of Djinn by Djeli Clark. Djeli Clark was born in America. He is about 1971. He was born, and he writes speculative fiction. He's won lots of prizes, the Nebula, the Hugo, etc., etc. I have read previously Ring Shout by Djeli Clark and loved it. After listening to A Dead Djinn in Cairo on audiobook, I was really keen to read this full-length follow-up, A Master of Djinn, with Agent Fatima as the central character. This is set in a world where Al-Jahiz has opened a gateway between another dimension and let Djinn into our world. And so these magical creatures exist in a 1920s Cairo. The story is set in Cairo, but you do get glimpses of the outside world. And it's a bit steampunk, it's a bit magical. Otherwise, it's kind of the world we know. Our central protagonist is a queer woman, a queer woman and a police officer. I've got to say the thing that probably surprised me the most is the pro-police stance of this central character, and I kind of kept waiting for Agent Fatima to have a moment of realization and leave the police force, just because after reading Ring Shout I assumed that Djeli Clark would be on board with sort of ACAB sentiments and defund the police and those sort of things. So to see a central character be investigative police officer was complex for me. However, I really enjoyed the fact that this woman is a fucking badass, and so is her lover, and the women in general are tough in an environment that is acknowledged to not be easy for women. So I found that really interesting. I also found strangely the clothing, the discussion of clothing in this to be really interesting, because I don't know anything. Like, you can describe a Western person in jeans and a t-shirt, and I understand that, like, the cultural implications of like what that means as far as informality and their expectation and like what that says about their finances and their fashion sense and like all of those things. There's a lot of descriptions of the clothing that characters wear in this that were items of clothing I had never heard of, and I am really glad I took the time to Google a bunch of it, because learning the difference between the items of clothing allowed me to infer things like people's socioeconomic status and things like that. And I think Djeli Clark just assumes that you would educate yourself. And I think that is a respect for the reader that I appreciate. This guy writes women like tough bitches really well. That's a commonality that I think this had with Ring Shout. I definitely had a favourite character in Ring Shout, and I had a favourite character I had probably two favourite characters in this actually. And it's their defiance of authority and their willingness to state their case, and regardless of how that makes them seen, and their lack of a need to feel like their version of femininity is accepted, it was empowering and fun to watch. This is essentially like a good versus evil story with, it starts with a big mass murder, and then Agent Fatima has to, investigate, and it sort of culminates in a massive battle scene with magical elements and that sort of thing. I enjoyed the magical world. It was ultimately quite a straightforward story, but the dominance of female characters and the injection of different religious elements and different cultural elements meant that I learned a lot while reading this, and it brought a lot for sort of a genre fiction fantasy novel. So I'm really pleased that I read this. If you like this or Ring Shout, then I would suggest you also read N.K. Jemisin, Octavia Butler, any of those, and you'll have your little socks blown off. I will be reading next. Next, I will be reading historical fiction, but also probably with a bit of magical elements in there. I am picking up a new release of Valerie Kay by Natasha Pulley. I hope to hear from anyone who's read anything by Djeli Clark, especially anything that I haven't read yet. And if you've read The Master of Djinn, what did you think? What was your favourite bit? Or what suit do you prefer of Agent Fatma? Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.